Welcome to Eternal Family Adoptions, where members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints share stories and secrets of building forever families through faith-centered adoptions. I'm Donna Pope. Join us as we discuss how our faith can guide our adoption journey and create family connections. Welcome for Eternal Family Adoptions. Because I've talked with you a little bit about your story, and I'm excited to share your story with other people. Erin Thomas is who I'm here with, and I got to know her just recently, and she shared with me her story, and I would like to share that with you guys. Erin, tell us a little bit about what you told me the other day about your relationship with your mom.
Okay. So my mom was adopted. She was an adoptee, born in 1955, the oldest of 5 adopted children. My mom felt very settled in her adoption.
So your mom was the oldest, and all 4 of the others younger than her were all adopted?
Yes, that's
so
right.
Your grandparents adopted 5?
Yes.
So you say your mom was settled. Were the other 4?
I've never spoken to them about their adoptions. 2 of the others have passed away. My mom has passed away. So there are 2 left living. One is off the grid. I don't know where I would find her. And the other uncle I could ask. He's very shy. We probably communicate once a year. But I'll ask him the next time I talk to him and find out how he felt about his adoption.
But your mom was very settled, and so she didn't really want to find her biological family or anything like that?
No, she never had any desire to know. She told me once when I was younger that she felt like her mom must have made a really hard decision to place her for adoption, and that she felt like that decision was made with love, and she wanted to respect her mom's wishes of separating from her, and she felt all the love she needed from her adoptive parents, and never really had the desire to seek her out. I'm sure she probably wanted to know more somewhere deep inside her, but never made an effort, and it wasn't a priority to her.
But how did you feel?
So I felt, knowing that she was adopted, while I was growing up, I would be at school and look around at the other kids and wonder if any of them were my cousins. When we travel places, I would wonder, did we just move closer to my biological family or not? You know, am I further now from the people my mom came from, or further away from them because of where we traveled to in the world? You know, I'd wonder things like that all the time. I'd look for faces that might look like mine. I worried when I started dating that I might be dating someone I was biologically related to. I asked boys I dated if they had any adoption in the family, just because I was curious, you know.
See, that's so interesting, because I've talked with a lot of adoptees, and many of them will talk about this looking around to find somebody that looks like them, this mirroring that they're wanting to do. But for the daughter of an adoptee to feel the same feelings, I'd never thought about that before.
Yeah, it was my experience growing up.
And so, did you ever talk with your mom about it?
Probably not that I remember, not in any way that stuck with me. In fact, I don't know whether my siblings felt that way either. We've never really talked about it, but I thought about it a lot, and more later in my life, as when I was a brand new young adult, my sister placed a baby for adoption, and going through that process with her made me a lot more aware of another side of adoption I hadn't seen before, and made me wonder what things were like for my mom's birth mother when she placed my mom.
So your sister, your biological sister, knowing that her mother, your mother, was adopted, found herself pregnant, and chose to place the child for adoption rather than parent.
Yes.
How old was she?
She was 20 at the time the baby was born, and I was 21. We're just a year apart.
How was that?
Amazing and so difficult. I was in the middle of college. I'd just finished my associate's degree and was getting ready to go on a service mission, a church mission, and was preparing for all of that change while she was going through the pregnancy. When I was home and she would have her appointments with her social worker or to talk with the adoptive family, I was a part of those things. The baby was born in December, about 2 weeks after my semester ended. So the whole last couple of weeks, I was very involved with her and my mom in that process. And it kind of shaped my whole idea about what I wanted to do in life. It pushed me towards social work with the hope of someday working in adoption. It was amazing and beautiful for me to watch the change that came over my sister during that time. She'd been living a kind of a lifestyle that wasn't making her very happy. And when she started to consider adoption, it was like this joy kind of took over, and purpose kind of took over. She felt, I don't know, just a lot happier during that time.
Interesting, because we often talk about the loss and the kind of trauma that birth mothers or expectant mothers have. You didn't see that in your sister?
There was absolutely that, the trauma and the loss, but she came to a point, and it was around the time, I think, when she received profiles from the adoption agency, where when she saw the profile of the family that ended up adopting her child, she felt very settled about that he belonged with them, that she was a step in the middle for him. And of course, after he was born, it's really difficult to send away that brand new little infant. It was hard for her. It was hard for our whole family, far harder for her than for the rest of us. And there has been loss and grief about it for her, far more than for the rest of our family, because it was her choice. It was her grief. It was her loss. As he has grown up, we ended up, it was supposed to be a closed adoption, but it ended up being open because the last name was let slip during a face-to-face meeting. And then Facebook came out a few years later, and our families connected. Yeah. And we did our best to respect their privacy, and his adoptive family did their best to respect ours. But his adoptive mom has told me since that everything she ever posted on Facebook during his childhood was specifically so that we could see him grow up.
She wanted you guys to know.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a great way to get to watch that process without being terribly connected. But after my mom passed away, my sister had kind of stepped out. She wanted to leave it as, he can reach out to me when he's ready. This is my gift to him, and I'm not going to take it away. I want him to be very connected to his family. But when my mom passed away, they had kept in good touch with her over Facebook. And then his adoptive mom started to reach out to me because my sister wasn't available. It hadn't made herself available to them. So she started reaching out to me as he got into his teenage years, and she had questions about one developmental thing or another, or one health issue or another. And so she and I stayed in good touch.
Did she not feel like she could reach out to the biological mom?
It wasn't that she couldn't reach out so much as that my sister didn't really make herself available. And we did have a conversation once, it's probably been about 4 or 5 years ago, where she asked, is there a reason why your sister hasn't
talked to
been willing, reached out ever? And so I asked her, and she told me that she wanted to leave it completely up to him, that she was never going to reach out until he made the first move. And not the adoptive mom, but the adopted child.
Yeah.
She wanted him to make the first move.
This is another thought I never had. You mentioned that your brother had wanted to reach out to this child.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So my brother is 2 years younger than my sister who placed. And So the three of us, we're four siblings, but the three of us are all within like three years of each other. My brother got married and had biological children of his own, all daughters.
He didn't have a boy.
Not a boy.
He kind of wanted a boy.
Exactly. And he's a very athletic guy, and sports were important to him growing up, and he follows sports now as an adult. Well, my nephew who was placed was involved in sports. And so my brother started watching him as he got into college sports and followed him very closely. My adopted out nephew, served a mission as well, and my brother snuck into the back. We weren't supposed to go, but he snuck into the back just because he wanted that connection. I think to a boy in the family, it was really important to him.
So let's talk about that really quickly, particularly for our LDS people. So this young man who had been placed for adoption, and now he's 19 years old, and he's now going to go on a mission. And you guys are following along this, and you're aware of it. And so you kind of want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how that went.
That was a really interesting crossroads for us. And it's interesting to me looking back now how much more settled I feel right now than I did then. Because at that point, I felt like this is it. We have to connect now before he leaves on his mission. He needs to know who we are and that he's got this biological family that love him. He doesn't have to have a relationship with us, but we need him to know, you know? And we did. I reached out to his adoptive mom at that time and asked if it would be okay for us to go to his missionary farewell, either as observers or to meet him. They consulted about it as a family and felt like for him, it was a time for goodbyes in the life he'd had all growing up and not a time for new connections. Mm-hmm. She said maybe at some point in time after he's back from his mission, he'd be open to that, but right now is not the time. And I felt like it was this huge, like, oh, okay, well then why have I been feeling so strongly this need? And that's what my brother was feeling as well. And that's why he did some digging, found out when the farewell was, and snuck down to...
But he didn't interfere.
No, he didn't interfere. He just sat in the back and observed. So
you can kind of see the adoptive mom's point of view. No, this is our family, mm-hmm. and we just need our family to be together at this time, and we don't need to introduce this whole other family.
Right.
That would have been tough for her because she would have wanted to accommodate you, but she more importantly wanted to, and she talked with him about it, and that's how he felt?
Yeah, she talked with her son and with her husband. They consulted together and felt mm-hmm. like it just wasn't time yet.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because I asked my son, his birth father reached out to me because he saw a DNA test and realized that he had a son out there and didn't even know he had a son out there.
Oh my goodness.
And he contacted me, and I was thrilled. I was thrilled that he contacted me, and I got to know him a little bit. And then when I went to my son, who's now an adult and he's in his 20s, and I said, your birth father has reached out to us. I'm happy to connect you. And he said, no. He said, no, I don't want to.
What was his reason? Or like, how did he feel about it?
He said, I'm not interested. It kind of hurt me. I felt bad because I like this guy, mm-hmm. and I wanted him to have that relationship, but at the same time, I have to respect what he wants. And so I maintain a relationship with him on the side with the idea that if ever my son wants to have that connection, then we certainly can facilitate that. But right now, in his early 20s, he doesn't want it. And so it's a challenge.
Yeah.
For us standing on the side that like them to get together, and they're going, I'm not that interested right now.
So I'm a few years younger, about 7 years younger than the adoptive parents.
Yeah, so not that much
baby.
Younger.
And so now I'm to the point that they were at this crossroads when he was leaving on his mission. And I can see how for a young person at that point in their life, it wouldn't be the right time.
No.
It's just interesting how a few more years down the road, you can kind of see things
That
that you
they're
didn't see before.
Well, it's a developmental issue, and you kind of just got to let them go with what they need to go with.
Right.
So right now, you still have that relationship with his family.
Yes.
But there's never been any connection between the biological family and the adopted family at all, except, well, not directly. The ancillary people are talking,
Mm-hmm.
but the biological mom and the biological child have never connected.
Right. So the biological child has social media accounts that my sister follows.
She follows.
Yes. And she'll like things, but not comment. Mm-hmm. As far as I know, there's never been any verbal communication, whether written or spoken. It's just been, she'll like the things that he posts, and he knows who we all are. His adopted mom let me know. He knows who all of you are. He knows grandpa. He knows uncle. He knows aunt, who's me. He knows who we are, but he hasn't ever, other than just posting things that we have access to see, he's never made any attempt to reach out. And I've tried to respect my sister's wishes and not make any direct contact with him until he reaches out himself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now let's go to another story, because let's go back to this idea that you're growing up, you know your mom's adopted, you look like your mom, but you wonder kind of what maybe her sisters or her mom looked like. And so you're looking around. And then what happened?
So it was 2011, my mom passed away, and she passed from cancer, and I needed to know what else was coming along the line, health history wise. I also wanted to know the story, why she ended up being placed for adoption. I wanted to understand that, but it was kind of secondary at that point in time to my really needing to know for myself, what do I need to worry about health history wise? Here I am in my 30s, and mom's gone now and passed in her 50s, and that's young. And so my husband gave me for my birthday an ancestry DNA test. I sent it off, and I was immediately connected to a woman who I was told was most likely a first cousin. And I reached out to her and explained the situation, that my mom was an adoptee in 1955. Is there a member of your family who might have placed a baby at that point in time? And she responded saying, I don't know of any situations like that in my family, but I will keep my ear to the ground and I'll let you know. Well, every few months we would communicate just here or there. She would ask me a few more questions, or I would just reach out saying, hey, how are things going? And I think I sent that test off in 2016. In 2020, I, out of the blue, got a lengthy message from this cousin saying, I have found out how we're connected. And she explained that she has an elderly aunt, older sister of her mother, there we go, whose health was declining. And she, as the family historian, had gone to interview her. And during the interview, she disclosed that as a young woman, she had placed a baby for adoption. In 1955, the month my mom was born, it all matched up. And so she brought that to me and told me that my biological grandma was not ready to reconnect, but that she had given her permission to give me all this information. So we set up a plan to meet in person. We met at Roots Tech in Salt Lake in February of 2020, right before COVID hit. We sat down and chatted for about 3 hours. She had brought all sorts of pictures and information about her family history, and especially my mom's birth mom. I had brought pictures of my mom throughout her life, so the cousin could see, who does she look like, and told her what she was like, what our family is like. When we met up for this meeting, I went to the place we'd appointed, and I called her on the phone to say, I'm here, And she said, okay, I'm just down the hall. I'll be walking towards you. I turned and looked, and I saw this woman coming toward me who, in her build and frame, she didn't look anything like my mom, except her hair was the exact same color and texture as my mom's, and her eyes were the exact same color as my mom's. And I'd never seen those eyes in anyone except my sister and my mom. So
that finally that mirroring happened.
It was
you
like,
saw someone.
I know we're connected because I know your eyes. Yeah, it was really cool.
Then you guys sat down and she shared some things with you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so she had brought family trees, family charts, as well as stories of my biological great-grandparents. And so this would be my mom's grandparents, the parents of my mom's birth mother, and all of their history that she had on record. She had printed copies and brought it to me. So stories, things they were involved in. It was really neat to just see that there was this legacy of people who had made my mom's birth mom who she was, and whose lives and values had contributed to her decision to let my mom live and to place her, to give her a chance at a good, happy life. And I felt a lot of gratitude for that. I hadn't really ever felt like a lack in my life of family. And so I don't know that the stories, like I read them still, and I don't exactly feel like they're family, but they're people who are important to me, people who influenced me. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of an interesting situation because I have my grandparents and my great-grandparents and their stories of faith and of, what made them who they are, their life's experiences. I know them well, and I feel really connected to them. And now I've got all these others too that I feel really grateful for. But it's different.
How interesting. So one of the things that you mentioned that I hadn't even thought about before, oftentimes when we go and we try to do genealogy, for example, I've watched my children. They'll go on family. What is it called? Family tree.
Search. Uh-huh.
And they'll put in themselves as the little I'm myself, and then they'll put in maybe their parents, or they'll put in me, and then they don't know what to do. What happened when you met with this historian of your family, your biological family?
Yeah. So this cousin was very familiar with the Family Search app and Family Tree. She took my phone and opened my app, navigated to my mom, and she asked if I'd like to have her biological family connected. And I told her, well, yeah, as long as we're able to choose. I said, I don't want someone down the road trying to, as members of the church, trying to seal my mom to the wrong people, or, her work's all done. And she said, oh no, I'll set a setting so that your preferred parents of your mom are listed as her adopted grandparents or adopted parents, my grandparents. But now when I go to my mom's page on Family Search, I can see her. I can select parents. I can see my grandma and my grandpa. And then there's another mom down there that's her birth mom.
And if you click on that one, does it bring up that line?
Yes. Yep. Then I can open her tree. I can see a son of hers who passed away, who's my mom's biological half-brother. Mm-hmm. I can see her husband who passed away, that she married after my mom was born. I can see all of her ancestors and read
so
their
you've
stories.
Got the line of your of your family,
right,
including your mother's adopted family.
Uh-huh.
And then you can also go over and see the line of your biological lineage.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's kind of cool. But you're not kind of sure what to do with it.
I know. I look at it. My brother looks at it because we're both curious, I don't really look at it very often. Sometimes when I'll go in to do, to get names to take to the temple or something like that, and you use that app to find out whose work hasn't been done, sometimes it will pull from that line.
It will pull from your biological line.
And I feel like they're family enough. I want to be connected to them, so I'll do their work if it gives me their work. But most of the time it pulls from the line I'm sealed to, my mom's adopted family. So a
lot of times in the church, we struggle with this idea of who am I connected to? Am I connected to my adoptive family through the sealing? Or I'm connected to my biological family through genetics? Or both?
Mm-hmm.
And you've just described how she was able to set it up in that app so that you can actually see both at the same time. So how was that for you to see that?
Really neat. I've wondered, and when I'm older and don't really, my curiosity has been satisfied, and I maybe don't feel a need for that information anymore, that I might remove the connection. But then you suggested to me yesterday when we were chatting about this, that if a granddaughter, a child of an adoptee, felt at some point the need for connection to the biological family, that why not a grandchild of an adoptee? So
interesting. Now, have you talked with your sister about this?
I have.
And what was her thoughts?
She thought it was interesting, but she was not as gung-ho to know about all of it as my brother was. So she let me sit down and show her all the pictures and everything, and hear the stories, but she's never really asked about it again. My brother wanted copies. He wanted to be able to share it with his daughters. And then we have a younger sister too, who, her story is that her best friend growing up was an adoptee. And she reached out when she became an adult to her biological mom. And the biological mom did not respond well. And told her that she had cut ties for a reason, and that her reconnecting was messing everything up, and basically told her, nope, I don't want any. So my youngest sister feels like, just let things lie. When there's been an adoption, just let things lie. So she has not been interested in knowing any of the information.
Interesting. So you guys have a unique family in the sense that your adoptive mom, your mom was adopted, and she's got this line of people that you've been able to connect to. Then your sister placed a child for adoption, and you guys have been watching the life of this kid, but not reaching out and not interfering at all. So you kind of see it from both directions.
Yes. Yep.
So many people will say adoption is trauma. How would you respond to that?
I think that it sometimes is, and it's sometimes not. I think some of that must come from whatever feelings and emotions are surrounding the adoption, from the birth family and the adoptee. And I think some of it has to do with the way the adoptee is nurtured, or the circumstances of the birth family after they've placed. I think it probably is all trauma initially, but the promptness with which the trauma is healed or comes to a place of healing varies widely. Because for my mom, I don't think she would say she ever had any trauma over it. But I know for my sister, there's still ongoing grief over the adoption where she placed. So,
and what would be interesting is to talk to that young man and see how he's doing. He seems to be doing great. He's playing college sports. He went on mission. He seems to be doing good.
He's married now.
He's married now.
Yes.
And now his kids might want to reach out to you, and they might connect the app
It could
together.
It could be.
And these links between each other, they can be really fun. they can be challenging, but they could be fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said that after you had met there at Roots and you talked with your aunt, your biological aunt, biological cousin, that you got all this information and it was fun to read and learn about it. But then you guys really haven't gone on and developed much of a relationship.
Right. So the timing of it was that we met right before COVID took place. And I think if that timing had been different, we might have connected differently. My mom's birth mom passed away a few months into the COVID pandemic. And she has a daughter that I connected with on Facebook after my mom's cousin had let her know that she has a half sister, and would she be interested in connecting with that sister's daughter, who's me. So we connected on Facebook Messenger, and we spent an entire day that first week of COVID messaging back and forth. And we planned to meet up once the pandemic was past, but neither of us has ever reached out again. And I think it's because we don't need to. I think it's because we got the answers we needed. We got the information we needed. I think as far as I know, as far as what she told me that day, she didn't have any trauma. She was unaware she had an older sister, an older half sister. And so I don't think that she really needed that connection. And I found that with time, I didn't really need it either. I just wanted answers, and I got them, and that has satisfied it.
So, kind of in conclusion, if you were talking with, because you've got them all, if you were talking with the woman that placed your mother for adoption, what might you say to her?
You're going to make me emotional now. I would thank her so much for her courage, for being willing to let my mom live, and the sacrifice she made. In 1955, she moved away from her family and friends to go through the pregnancy in place because things like that were kept private. In fact, none of her family ever knew about it other than her parents, and then eventually the husband she married a year after my mom was born. And so I would say to her, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your sacrifice. And I hope that you got the healing in your life that you needed.
What if we had a conversation with your sister right now? What might you say to her?
Boy, let's see. So she and I are in regular contact. We talk often. We don't often talk about
this. Has she kind of moved on?
She has. Yeah, she's married and has dog babies. She has pets and not kids. I think I would tell her how proud I am of her for the tough decision that she made back when we were young adults, and how grateful I am for her courage and the way that that's blessed my life. I think I would also tell her that it's okay to reach out to the adoptive mom because she's waiting.
Is she?
She's waiting. The adoptive child, I don't know whether he is ready or not, but the adoptive mom would love to hear from my sister.
Interesting. And someday you'll probably have a conversation with that boy. But if you were to have one right now, what might you say to him?
That he was loved from the start. I think I'd want him to know we got to bring him home from the hospital with us, and he was with us for 3 days before he was placed. And I think I would want to let him know how much love we tried to pour into him while he was with us. We all wrote letters to him that went with him to his adoptive family. I hope he has them. I hope he's read them. I'd want him to know how proud I am of him and the young man that he's become. And and that we are open to as much or as little communication as he's interested in. I'd also want him to know I have kids of my own, 6 boys, and I would want him to know that his biological cousins are so proud of him and would love to know him someday if he's interested.
Thank you for this experience and talking with you. One of the things that you see the whole picture. We don't often get to see all sides of the picture. And so we see just little glimpses. And usually they're just for short periods of time, these little glimpses. And what you've shared with us kind of shows us a continuity of these stories going down through the generations, which is super fun. And sometimes they can be super hard, and then other times they can bring great joy. But hopefully over time, we can see how they can intertwine together and be so glad that at multiple choices, your grandmother, your sister chose to give life to these children, even if they're in a position that they can't parent. Thank you very much for this time.
Yeah, thank you, Donna.
Thank you for joining this episode of Eternal Family Adoptions. I'm Donna Pope. Every child deserves not just a home, but a forever family rooted in love and faith. So visit our website, eternalfamilyadoptions.com, to access faith-based adoption resources and sign up for a newsletter. And join us next time as we continue this journey together.